When it comes to measuring a charity's program impact or financial efficiency, it really doesn't get much better than Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. This is an organization that receives an A+ rating from Charity Watch for spending 94% of its cash budget on its programs and for keeping its fundraising down to $5 to raise each $100 of cash support. It's highly financially efficient. It's also really impactful. This is an organization that helps build medical facilities for injured veterans who are suffering from post-traumatic stress and other types of related injuries. So why does this organization only receive a 1-star rating from one of the most prominent nonprofit trade associations in the United States? Well, it's because, first of all, trade associations, they're not watchdog organizations. Secondly, anytime an organization hosts a large online database with hundreds of thousands of ratings in it, you have to ask yourself how much time is really being spent deeply analyzing the reporting of the charities that are being rated on that website. So let me tell you what we found and what we think the problem is as to why that got such a low rating. This organization got such a low rating on that trade association's website compared to what Charity Watch found. Well, it has to do with understanding the accounting rules. So Charity Watch deeply analyzed the audited financial statements of Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, as well as its annual IRS Tax Form 990 and all of its schedules. And we had accountants analyze this information, not just a simplistic computer algorithm. So when we were looking at the financial efficiency and program impact of Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, what we at Charity Watch found is that it spent 94% of its funds on programs, and here's why. It has to do with accounting rules. So charities, when they are building buildings, they're not allowed to count all the money that they're investing into that as a program expense as they're spending the money. So in other words, a lot of money is flowing out in order to pay contractors or construction materials or that kind of thing. And it's under accounting rules, it's not until that finished building is transferred to an outside party in this particular case. It's not until then that all the money it's spent on constructing these buildings, medical facilities, it's not until then that those expenses are recognized. They don't flow into the expense statement until that building is conveyed. So, does that mean that this charity that's spending millions and millions of dollars constructing veterans facilities, does that mean that it's a terrible charity just because it's not allowed to report the expenses that it's incurring as it's incurring them? It has to wait until many years it takes to build a building in many cases. It has to wait until that finished building is conveyed to a third party before it can count them as program expenses. Well, this isn't a problem. These rules are there for a reason, but it just goes to show this is a perfect case study on why you can't just look at a charity's tax filing or have an algorithm grab one number from a tax filing and divide it by another number and say, hey, this is the program percentage. You really need an accountant to look at this information to tell you what's really going on. An accountant who understands nonprofit accounting and reporting rules and can tell you what you really want to know as a donor, which is, if I give this charity $100, how much of it is going to be spent on the types of programs that I'm intending to support? Well, if you donate to a veterans and military charity that's telling you, if you donate to us, if you support us, your money will be spent on building medical facilities, and then we found, hey, that's exactly what they're spending your money on. The fact that it isn't allowed to report that information in certain boxes of the tax filing in one year versus another, that's sort of beside the point. Taking a principles-based approach here, the organization is spending money on what you want it to spend the money on if you're donating to it. So as far as impact, in 2007, Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund completed the construction of the Center for the Intrepid, which is a world-class state-of-the-art physical rehabilitation center at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. In 2010, Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund officially turned over to the United States Department of the Navy the National Intrepid Center for Excellence, a 72,000 square foot facility located at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Baltimore, Maryland. The Center for Excellence is dedicated to research, diagnosis, and treatment of traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. And Veterans Day is upon us, and we all know how important that kind of treatment is for our veterans. Since fiscal 2014, 7 Intrepid Spirit Centers have been built in the following locations to extend the care to the home bases of many of the troops suffering the effects of traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. There's one in Fort Belvoir, please excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, Virginia, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fort Hood, Texas, Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington, and Camp Pendleton in California. In 2020, the construction of a Spirit Center at Elgin Air Force Base was completed, and construction of another Spirit Center at Fort Carson, Colorado began. Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund continues fundraising for an additional Spirit Center to be constructed in Fort Bliss, Texas. So this is a highly efficient organization. So if you do see a 1-star rating of this organization online, I really hope that it's not hurting their fundraising ability, because this is a highly efficient, impactful, and effective organization. Please come to charitywatch.org to view our article about Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, where we dig more into the finances and explain to you the accounting and how we computed our rating. And also take a look at our website at charitywatch.org, for ratings of many, many, many other veterans and military charities for this Veterans Day. I hope this is helpful. Thanks, everyone.